girls, welcome back to the Asterisk podcast where I'm your host, April Biondalillo. And I am so excited because as I was praying for guests to have on this next season, season 4, the Lord was working. And you know where he was working? On social media. I was, not gonna lie, doom scrolling a little bit on TikTok. But lo and behold, I found this girl who I'm about to introduce you to. And I said, she needs to be my best friend. She has to be on the Asterisk podcast. So I am so excited to introduce you all to Dana Meyer. Dana is a faith-driven creator who blends Bible study, relatable storytelling, and modern analogies to make scripture click for a new generation. She shares her journey of health, habits, and spiritual growth with refreshing honesty. Her content inspires women to pursue Jesus consistently and confidence in their everyday lives. Y'all, welcome to the podcast, Dana.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for that introduction, April.
You're welcome. I was kind of getting nervous reading it. I hope I didn't butcher anything. It's like, I'm like at an arm's length right now for my little teleprompter scrolling it. So that was awkward, but it's fine. We made it through. No, but y'all, seriously, I was just literally scrolling on TikTok. I found Dana and she is going off about passion for the Bible, sharing all the tips and tricks. And I'm like, I got to learn. How did she get here? More about this girl. So I did slid into the DMs. Yeah. And
You sure did.
this is how we met. This is how we're here. Dana, I'm so excited for you to be here, but I just want to kind of backtrack. I don't know a lot about you. I'm just now getting to know you. The girls don't know. So we just want to know, what was your child look like? What was your faith journey? How did you come to know Jesus?
That is a great question to start off. My childhood was great. So I know we were talking a little bit before
Yes.
before we started. I am from Ohio, specifically the Cleveland area. So I did a lot of I was born here. I moved out to Kansas for a couple years, and when I was about 7, I moved back to Ohio. So really Ohio is honestly all that I remember and know. Since I was, started school, my parents decided to put me and my little brother in Catholic school. So I was actually raised in Catholic school, going to Catholic church until about 7th grade, where they actually put me and my brother into public school just because of a move. And so it was always a part of my life. I mean, faith was always something that I grew up around. We went to church. My mom took us to church, and it wasn't until probably more like middle school time, like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I still ended up going through with my sacraments. Like, I think one of the last sacraments you do in Catholicism is your confirmation. And so I was able to make that. But after that, it just kind of it fell off. I was in public high school, getting into other things that just weren't really where I was supposed to be, where I was rooted. But as far as my childhood goes and just my faith growing up, I mean, I would say I was very faithful as a child. And I think I owe a lot of that to my mom, making sure, I mean, I can remember her flicking on those lights Sunday morning and being like, God does so much for you. You can give him 1 hour of the day,
That's
1
so
hour of the
awesome.
week.
We're going
She's
to
like,
church.
get up, we're going to church. And made it, interesting and fun. And we would get breakfast after, and it was kind of like that family tradition. So it was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah. When did it become, I know we're going to kind of jump around a little bit, but did that stick with you? It sounds like it didn't. When did it start to really stick? I want to follow Jesus with all that I am. Were there moments where you were struggling with worth or just different things that then led to this rock bottom? What was that defining
Absolutely.
moment? Yeah.
Well, I feel like so after getting into high school, I feel like I put my worth in so much more of things that don't really involve me and less of me, if that makes sense. I was very extrinsically motivated, right?
Okay.
So it was, what outfit am I going to be wearing to this event? And am I going to have the name brand stuff? Back in 2015, I graduated in 2015. Okay, so I'm a little old, but back then it was very you had to have the name brand stuff. And I don't know, I'm sure it's still that these days, just different brands. But, it was am I going to have, am I going to get the real Uggs? And am I going to have the Abercrombie moose on my jeans? And
I love it.
is this boy going to notice me at cheer practice? Am I going to make the cheer team? Am I going to be friends with the popular people? All of the things that motivated me actually had nothing to do with me.
Wow.
And I wish so badly that I could go back to those 4 years I spent in high school worrying about what other people thought about me and if I would be accepted and just silly things. I can't even remember like these people's names or the events I went to or the clothes I wore. But
Yeah.
I wish I could have invested all of that energy and time into myself and like my grades and praying to the Lord and like
Yeah.
rooted in myself and my faith rather than like putting it out and seeking it from other people.
Right. No, absolutely. When did that begin to like shift for you where it wasn't so much about, okay, trying to get the approval of other people, but getting the approval of God?
Yeah, that was not probably until seriously, I mean, still something I struggle with today, to be
Yeah.
completely honest.
Yeah, it's
I
real.
would say, yeah, I
We
would
love to be
say,
real here. So I'm like, Dana, you go there.
okay,
You go there.
I'm gonna lay it on you. Yeah, the truth is
Lay it
coming out.
on. We
Like,
love this. I'm like, girls, get in
obviously,
close.
come on in. Let me tell you all my
Circle
secrets. No, for
around.
real.
Yeah.
I am like, I will tell you whatever you want to know. So
Yeah.
I would say, obviously now, like we still have our struggles every day, and
Yeah.
I've seen that shift probably within the last maybe 2 years. I would say
Okay.
after I met my fiance,
Okay.
and actually learned like what it truly feels to be loved by
Wow.
someone who values God. I mean, that's a great point. I'm just kind of now
Yeah.
realizing, had my fiance Danny not been so rooted in his Catholicism and his want and need to go to church, I don't know what, if I had would have been pulled in the way that I'm pulled
Wow.
in. I remember on our first date, it was the day before Easter, and we were out kind of late, and we were like closing down the restaurant
Mm.
because we just had so much to talk about, right? And he was
Yeah.
like, "Well, I got to get up, I got to go to church in the morning." And I just remember being like a
What?
jaw on the floor. Like
Wow.
I had not dated a boy that went to church since I was in 6th grade at Catholic school, right? And that's not
Wow.
even like, that
Yeah.
wasn't even like real dating or whatever you want to call it. But I just could not believe, I mean, because I had been praying for a man, that valued God
Yeah.
and wanted to bring God into our relationship,
Wow.
because I tried the relationships without God and it
Yeah.
didn't get me anywhere. But I wanted a man that wanted to bring him in. And so basically, long story short, I mean, I'm sitting at that table just like, "You're going to go to church in the morning?" And he's like, "Yeah, my parents, they go really early, but I'll just probably catch up. I'll go to the 10 o'clock mass." I'm like, "You're going to go by yourself?" Like, I
Wow.
was just in shock. And I really do think that he kind of pulled me back into wanting to actually establish a relationship with him, because
Mm.
it's a very long-winded way to answer your question. But
No, this is great.
high school and college, I really lost God.
Yeah.
God didn't go anywhere, but I
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
traveling out. And again, still seeking through alcohol, through
Mm.
boys, through outfits, through my sorority, things where I could be, I was always chasing the next level kind of
Yeah.
thing. And, I think that I prayed still and I thought about him and I knew he was still there and I believed in him. But it wasn't until I met Danny and we got engaged and I was like, whoa, I'm going to be a wife and I'm going to be hopefully, a mom, and I got to get myself right. And,
Wow.
that was when I was like, okay, we're going to establish a relationship
Wow.
with Jesus, rather than just, believing in him and believing he's there. I think really having a friend in him, it's completely
Yeah.
different, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's good. And it's kind of like echoing this idea of you knew who Jesus was, you just weren't surrendered to living a life according to that.
exactly.
And not so much where you're just like, okay, I've got to follow all these rules, but it's like I want to. Like there's something in me that desires to
Yeah.
live the most with my life in a God honoring way. And I think it's really cool that it was you sitting down at a table meeting your now fiance that inspired like, wait, there is someone like that out there. And now
Yeah.
I have a partner that can challenge and hold me accountable and encourage me in this journey,
Yep.
which is amazing. So by meeting him, you're kind of now in this place of, okay, the way I'm living, the way I'm doing things, it's not really like how is that making you feel? Like when you talk about like the clothes or the sorority or the drinking, like how is Dana feeling choosing those things? Like looking back.
Yeah. I felt, you know what? I feel like nothing ever sufficed. Like no matter how much I drank, and I can even go into more detail about this. I mean, truly, my college years were tough. Like, it was everyone was going out and everyone was, going to parties, and it was always like, what party was the best and what bar
Mm,
was the best and how late can you stay out and who can dress the hottest, right? And
yeah.
it was never enough. Like, every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday that I was going out, I still was adjusting myself in the mirror. I never felt, pretty enough. I never
Wow.
felt like I accomplished. I mean, getting drunk and then waking up the next day, nothing good. Nothing good
Yeah.
comes out of
Yeah.
that. And you spend the whole next day sick and anxiety. And
Mm,
it was like, oh, we'll just go out next weekend and it'll just be better. You're
wow.
just chasing, like, well, maybe like the Darty next weekend will be more fun, or,
Yeah.
so and so will be there.
Yeah.
You know how many times I got dressed to go to a bar hoping that somebody would be there, and then wasting my whole night, like, looking around waiting for someone to walk in so I could so that I could, like, look great. And
Yeah.
it's just like, there was just a lot of times where in the moment it feels good, but looking back, it's like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, I just wish I could go back and just, like, hug her,
Yeah.
because, like, that's not where we find our worth.
Right. And it's so hard because I think a lot of girls, probably even listening right now, get stuck in that place, and it's like I've heard it said before of like, oh, okay, when I'm out of college, then I'll take my walk with the Lord more seriously. Like, this is my time to have
Yes.
fun. But
That
then
is
you do.
exactly.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it's a normal way of thinking. It's almost like, well, I'm supposed to have this college experience. Like, this is just, you see it in the movies, you read about it, maybe your parents have stories. Like, it just kind of seems like almost like a rite of passage. Like, I just do
Exactly.
this. But then, yeah, it finds itself not adding up. And sometimes there's just a lot of other elements that start getting added on to that. You start talking about anxiety, sometimes it's depression. It's this
Oh, yeah.
idea of constantly comparing yourself to the person, on your left, to your right, I love just like even the imagery of you just saying like you're constantly readjusting yourself in the mirror. Like, there's never
Yeah.
a point where it's like, this feels good. Like, I'm walking away feeling
Yeah.
10 out of 10. What a great experience. So, that was kind of your whole college experience, if I'm hearing correctly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I struggled really bad with, I was actually finally diagnosed with anxiety and, like, a panic disorder my junior year of college, and put on medication. I struggled very, very much my junior and senior year with anxiety and depression, very negative thoughts, very
Oh,
much like, you don't deserve to be here. You're very, really just heavy stuff
wow.
that I'm now realizing is truly, I think what happens is when you put your worth outside, it's easier for the enemy and the lies to flood. You're almost
Mm,
opening, like, the floodgates, because you're not protecting yourself and your heart. And when you're not rooted in God and what God says you are, and you're not listening, and
mm,
it sounds kind of harsh, like, oh, you're not listening to God. Like, if you don't have that relationship with him and you're not
yeah.
praying and talking to him, it's very hard to hear him, right? Because there's no relationship there.
Yeah.
And so you can't hear all the nice positive things that God has to say about you. And
Yeah.
so you're listening to what other people say about you online. And I didn't even have, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine having the social media that we have now,
Oh my
being
gosh.
13, 14 in high school. I mean, seriously, I can't even imagine, like, the comments, people they hide behind screens, like,
Yeah.
and that is the enemy working overtime
Yeah.
through people that he knows he can get to you through.
Absolutely.
It'll always be the people that you value the most. And you hear this I don't know, like, I hear this all the time. Don't ever take advice or criticism even from someone that you wouldn't want to trade places with.
Mm,
Make sure you're surrounding yourself
that's
with
good.
people, and this is something I wish I could say to high school and college Dana.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who you want to be more like.
Yeah.
And their true values and who they are as a person, not because they have the next best, iPhone and Uggs and whatever it is these days. I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not Uggs, but
Real.
back then it was the
Hey,
real
Uggs have had
Uggs,
their moment, It's like
Yeah, of
Birkenstocks. Who
course.
knows?
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. The name brand stuff.
Yeah.
And I think back then, like, when I would think, like, oh, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Um, it wasn't a godly woman. And now I look up to so many godly women who put
Mm,
God first in their home, who raise their children around, Jesus and not being afraid of their faith. Back then, it was almost like embarrassing to admit that I
yeah,
was a Christian, which just
yeah.
makes me so sad to even think about.
No, I think that's so real. And I think it's a really great reminder. And it's things that we know, but it takes that discipline to like walk it out. And I love, and this will be a good like segue for us of just how you're talking about like there are good voices, like the voice of the Lord that's speaking to us, but
Yeah.
a lot of the times it's just the outside noise and that's distracting us from hearing him. And we have full control over that volume to turn it down.
We
And
do.
it's tough because I'm like, I go back and forth with this all the time. Like, obviously, there's a lot of negative with social media, but there's also positive. Like, I think about how I got to be on this podcast with you, meeting you through
Yeah.
social media. And so I'm like, there's an opportunity. But a lot of times, people like now, where I feel like a lot of people are going to be discipled is social media, which can be tricky because you don't really get to know all these people. It's like you really got to get into the word, be discipled at a local church, but hear these videos, these messages. Like, I love what you're bringing to the table because it's just affirming and pointing back to getting in your word. Like, you recognize the
Yes.
voice that you need the most is the Lord's, and God's using my voice to point back to his voice. I mean, it's this whole podcast. There's nothing special about our words here other than the fact of we're just trying to teach girls the same things that the Lord's
Yes.
taught us by knowing his voice. So,
Yes.
tell us, okay, so you start getting into the Bible, and I've watched a couple of your videos to kind of understand like the storyline. Cause I'm like, okay, where did this come from? Tell us, like,
Right.
you get into it, and all of a sudden you're kind of surprised by it. It seems like how quickly it's just like transforming you, changing you, making the way you think, feel.
Correct.
Explain that to us.
Is so insane. I was going to mention this earlier. Conviction, first of all, I have felt
Mm,
for the first time ever. Like, truly, I've always felt guilt, right? And like, oh, I really shouldn't be doing this.
yeah.
There is truly nothing like the conviction of the Lord, and you will
Mm,
feel it
mm,
when you know that you're establishing a relationship with him. Like, the things that I have felt so convicted of, that it's like getting the ick. It's like, oh my gosh, I cannot watch that. I can't listen to that, and
yeah.
that's something that, and I'm kind of going off topic, but I wanted to mention
No,
earlier
perfect.
was like, that's how I actually started. I was like, whoa, this is like really happening. Like, is this normal? Like, am I supposed to feel this? Like, it was so, weird, for lack of better terms, just
Yeah.
different, just
Yeah.
very different than how I had felt, when just going to religion class and going to
Right.
church. And so what had happened was last June, I was fully a year out for my wedding, right? So I get married June of 2026.
Congrats.
And thanks. We're very excited. And about this June was when it hit me where I was like, oh yeah, we're like a year out. Time to really start, like, and first what floods is like, okay, our vendors booked? Do we have our guest list? Have I designed our save the dates? What
Yeah.
about our engagement pictures? And all of that stuff. And then I felt almost like the best way I can describe it is like a tug on my heart, almost, as I was, same thing like you said, scrolling
Yeah.
social media, and I saw a video of a girl who was talking about God on her platform, and I thought to myself, oh, wish I could do that. It was
Mm,
almost like like, I hate to use the word jealousy, but
yeah.
it felt kind of like I was like, man, like, that's kind of cool. Like, I wish I could do that. And I
Yeah.
felt this pull of like, why can't you?
Wow.
And immediately it was, people are gonna my friends are on my social media, like, they're gonna judge me. I don't
Wow.
want people to know. My mom, even though she had us go to church and everything, she kind of taught us that your religion and things like that, they're private. It was
Yeah.
more of like something you kind of keep to yourself, the workplace and in school. And I just felt like, I was like, I don't know, I just
Wow.
can't, I just can't.
Wow.
And I kind of brushed it off. And like, the more I kept scrolling, I was like, no, I need to go back. Like, something
Wow.
was like pulling me back to this girl, and I got excited about it. Like, I felt like I wanted to sit
Mm,
there and plan like a whole month of like content.
wow.
And the funniest part is I went to brunch with a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, the next day, who also is into content and making, making videos on social media and things like that. And she is also very, very rooted in her faith, someone that I've always looked up to for just to be more Christ-like. And we sat down at lunch, and I was like, So I think I'm gonna start making videos about God. And she was like, what? And I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna do it. So I made my first one. And this is where I'm like, Jesus just took the wheel.
Wow.
Truly, I had made videos for probably 2 weeks. And then I was scroll like on my, you know how you kind of like stalk your own social media
No,
sometimes? Like I'm like looking at
absolutely.
my old videos. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I've been talking about Jesus on my social media for 2 weeks, and I don't even know how I got here. Like,
Wow.
it felt like, when you're like driving sometimes and you just, like, you
But,
kind of
like,
zone
days
out.
out. Yeah.
And then you
Scary.
get to your destination and you're like,
How
oh
did
my
I
gosh,
get
I wasn't
here?
even thinking about what I was doing.
Yeah.
That is truly how I felt.
Wow.
And it had been like 2 weeks of content, and I'm sitting here like, oh, I guess we're doing this. Like, I can't stop now.
You're
So
like,
I
"You're just
almost
getting
feel,
started."
yeah. And I
Wow.
almost feel like the Holy Spirit was like, here you go. I'm going to give you all these ideas, and you're going to have the fire, right? You can almost tell, like, if you scroll all the way back
Mm.
to when I first started posting in June about Jesus, it was like very, you can tell how on fire I am.
Wow.
And then it dwindled a little bit, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going, because
Wow.
the whole purpose of me getting into the Bible was I wanted to read the whole Bible over the year to prepare myself for marriage and hopefully
Wow.
children, because I know there's going to be so many challenges that I'm going to face
Absolutely.
in the years to come.
Yeah.
And just to go back to, thinking about like the vendors and the people that are there and the photos and all of that, again, extrinsic, those are outside
Mm.
factors, when really all that matters is that Danny and I are there on that day, and we invite
Mm.
God to be there,
Wow.
that day. And I was like, there's only one way to do that. We're going to open up this Bible, and we're going to familiarize ourselves with the Lord, and create that relationship. And I used to do a lot of fitness coaching. I was a
Yeah.
personal trainer like 5 years ago. I worked at Orange Theory, and I documented
Oh,
my
fun.
my journey. Yeah, like throughout just coaching and becoming a coach, and then my own weight loss journey. And I know I was telling you earlier too, like I always dreamed of becoming a teacher. So teaching has always kind of been in my, like,
Mm.
my passion, my blood. And so it used to be all about fitness, right? Teaching how to properly use your form and correct this and that. And now I feel like it's like, well, this is just what I do. I document my journeys and I document my
Wow.
teaching. So I guess we'll just shift to the Bible and make it
Wow.
work.
Wow.
And here we are. So I mean, I
Dang.
never imagined I would have this sort of platform, and I thank
Yeah.
God every day, because
Mm.
I prayed for a platform way back when I created my fitness account right in 2020. And it's so funny that it's like 5 months of being obedient for once, and
Wow.
God's like, here you go.
Wow.
I will give you what you've asked for because you've been obedient and you are
Wow.
spreading the news about me. Also, I
Mm.
truly feel like that's what he's, that's why I've been blessed with just the community that I've been able to build, and it means a lot to me.
Damn, that's good. Like, that really is powerful. Just like this simplicity of obedience, we push it off
Yeah.
and we try to go our own agenda, our own plan. And Lord's like, it's here whenever you decide to say
Whenever
yes.
you're
Like,
ready.
yeah, I have it for you. And you're like, "Oh,
He's like, I know you love to make videos, and I know you love to yap and go do your fitness
yes.
thing while you have that. But like, it's just so funny to think that back when I was in second grade in religion class, like, he knew I'd be here one day,
Wow.
And I would have never guessed that. And I think that's why I start so many of my videos too on TikTok. Like, I'll be like, don't scroll away because you think the Bible's boring. I'm talking to myself like
Yeah.
6 months ago. I
Wow.
mean, 1 year ago, if you looked me in the eye and told me where I would be now, I would be like, I'm doing what? Like, I'm
Yeah.
talking about who?
Yeah.
And it's so cool to know that, like, this whole time, like, God has had this plan for me. And
Mm.
I just needed to come to terms, come to that realization that it's like, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. So
No, that's
it's
so
really
good.
special.
Okay, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. Now, this is more like I'm curious and I want to know, but I think it'll also be beneficial because there's a lot of girls, I think, especially being around growing up with social media, there's like more, I feel like creativity. A lot of people tap more into that. So tell us what it looks like for you with creating your platform, coming up with your videos, your content ideas with the Bible. What does that process look like for you? Is it something that you automatically know? Is there a rhythm, a planning schedule? We want to know, aka I want to know, everyone else wants to know.
It's so funny that you asked that question, because I see it in my comments all the time. Like, people will be like, I want to know how to read the Bible. Like how do you know what to say? How do you know what to read? And I
Wow.
never really have an answer. So I
Mm,
love this because you're challenging me. And I'm
mm,
gonna be, again, I'm just gonna put it out there.
I love it.
I just was in, I think I was in the Gospels. Like I want to say I was in maybe Mark once my videos started like picking up traction. And I feel like that's because the Gospels are so easy. For me, they're very
Yeah.
easy to digest.
Yeah.
I think for anyone who's maybe even looking to like, "Oh, where do I even start? Like, I don't even know how to pick up a
Yeah.
Bible." I always suggest starting in the Gospels. So that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And I just think that they're the most like relatable. They're easy to digest. They're easier to read. And so I feel like it's been easier for me to, kind of like pick analogies off of that.
Yeah.
I always get to my desk in the morning and I pray, before I even open, like, God, please show me
Mm,
yourself through what I'm reading and what you want to teach me through it.
so
And
good.
not always do we have like a revelation. It
Yeah.
doesn't always work like that, but a lot of times I can at least pick something out of the couple pages
Yeah.
I've read where I was like, I think this would be good to speak about. And
Absolutely.
so, as far as like what I picked to read, I mean, I'm just making my way through Luke right now. So we're just picking it up, as I read
Yeah.
a certain chapter. I'll try to like go back and then really pick something out and take notes on it. Another thing too that I like to do is I will get an idea sometimes, like when you get like your late night thoughts, and I'm like,
Well, yes.
ooh, I want to talk about that, or like I almost sometimes will get analogies that'll pop into my head, and I'm like, well,
Mm,
now I need scripture for that. So a
that's
lot of
cool.
times too, I'll write it down and then I'll take to either ChatGPT, which could be frowned upon. I don't know. I know chat's like my BFF.
Some people, it's a love-hate relationship, but
It
it can be
is.
useful. You can
It
be
can be
useful.
useful, right? Just always remember chat is not your Holy Spirit.
Ooh, that's a word.
Just use it with discernment. It's there for
Yes.
a resource. So a lot of times I'll be like, hey, like this is what I want to talk about in my Bible study. This is what's in my mind. Help me like put it into like help
Yeah.
it make sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it'll pull like a scripture for me. So that's another thing. You can always Google. Like I'll
Yes.
get DMs all the time where people are like, I'm really struggling with, depression. I would love to help you through that, but only God can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can give you scripture to look at, but I'm just gonna get on Google and search it too. Like what are the
Yeah.
best for depression? So get on it and do your research yourself.
Right.
And I'm not gonna be the one to shift it for you. Google's not gonna be the one to make the shift for you. You're gonna find that through using your resources, right? Whether it's me, another Christian
Right.
creator, Google Chat, whatever. And then when you read it, go to your journal or your notes app or wherever it is that you take notes and reflect on it, right?
Yeah.
Pray on it. And again, just using your discernment to pick out what it is that God is trying to say to you.
So
And
good.
it's totally okay if you're sitting there and you're just like tapping your pen on paper. You're like, I don't know. I can't,
Yeah.
you're going to get those thoughts like, I can't hear him. I can't do this, but it will come, whether it's when you're
Mm,
laying in bed later on or driving.
yeah.
Um, you'll get that answer and it'll come to you.
No, that's so good. And it's such a interesting, like, I just love even the discussion on ChatGPT and hearing from the Lord and the
Yeah.
Bible, like mixing it all together because you kind of have to go there. You kind of already summed this up, but these things like ChatGPT or Google, like just like other like their resources, but the source is Christ Himself. And so
Yeah.
I think if it's a tool that's helping you go deeper and helping you grow and learn, use it. And
Absolutely.
but don't let it be like everything you depend on. Like if you're going to ChatGPT,
Correct.
like also challenge yourself at the same time with going to the Bible. And at the end of the day, ChatGPT, it's not going to give you all the answers that you want. Like there's some
No.
things, most things that really can only come from the Lord and waiting on Him and
Yes.
learning that discipline. Again, going back to like a lot of the times like, oh, God is so far away. And it's like, well, God doesn't move. Like you said this earlier, we move. But it's also like take
Correct.
inventory of like, what does your week look like? What does your day look like? How much time do you sit silently in the presence of the Lord, and just
Yes.
allow yourself to hear from Him, because a lot of
Mhm.
times we say all our stuff and then we're like, okay, now I'm going to go scroll through social media. I'm going to go binge watch Netflix. And we're just kind of like,
Exactly.
I don't have anything. It's like, well,
Right.
those who
You know,
really, like, want it, like, you're gonna put in, like, extra time, and it doesn't mean you have to
time and effort.
yeah, fast, all this thing, but maybe you do, like I think
Right.
it's just there's so much in scripture that's constantly going back to, knock and the door will be open for you, keep seeking, keep
Yep.
asking. And I was literally just like complaining to my husband because this is something you do in relationships is you just get really comfortable and safe and you're like, man, life is blah blah blah. So I was just going
Yes.
on and on about a topic about just like this is really hard. And he was just like, well, keep asking. And I'm like, yeah, but I've already tried this, and that. And he's like,
Exactly.
the scripture doesn't say like try it twice. If it doesn't work out, then you're good and you can just start to complain. I'm like, I don't like that you're right about this,
You're right.
but
Yes.
that's tough. I'm like,
You're like,
okay,
okay, clocked. Like, I needed
yeah,
that. I
yes,
needed that.
yes.
Yes.
And I love,
Another thing
yeah, go for
too,
it.
sorry, I don't mean to cut
No,
you off.
we can do it. We're girls. We're gonna interrupt each other. That
Of
happens.
course. I'm like, no, I gotta get this out.
It's
Another
flowing.
thing is that I'm now gonna lose my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm
I
trying
know
to.
where I was, but
It's gonna come back. That's what happens.
that's why I was like, okay, I need to get it
You're
out
like, but
now,
wait.
or I'm gonna lose it. And then boom, I lost it.
We were
But
talking
it was
about.
about prayer.
Oh my God.
This is what'll happen is I feel like a lot of times, and this is a mistake that I made for 27 years 28 years, before
Yeah.
I really started my relationship with the Lord, was I would talk, ask, right? Just, I need this, and when can I have this? And can you
Mm,
just help me get through this? And then, I'm grateful here and there. And you're just talking. And then you're like, okay, click, just like you said. And then it's just like, okay, back to my phone or roll over
wow.
or click on the TV. You're not, he's like, hello, like I'm trying to answer you. And
Right.
you just shut the door. Like I was
Yeah.
about to answer. And so
Yeah.
you have to, this was a harder, it was hard to learn, but I'm trying to get better at night. Like it's so easy for my prayers to just run on a loop,
Wow.
but trying to actually take the second to pause and try to
Yeah.
be still, just like you said, silent, and see if anything comes to you, because he's there. Like, and of course he's always going to listen no matter how much you want to talk. But
Yeah.
if you're frustrated or you feel like you said, like just complaining because you're not getting the answers, ask yourself, like, am I giving him the time though to answer, or
Yeah.
am I just going on with my day?
So good.
I feel like that's what I used to, well, I'm praying.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, I'm talking to him, but am I giving him the chance to
Right.
respond?
Right. No, and I think that's so good because it's also just the idea too of like we're asking for things that we think we need or we think that we want, and he knows exactly what we need. And so
Yep.
if we would come to him in this place of just thanking him for where we're at, and even though, just this
Yes.
place of like, I trust you, it's interesting because our situations, we've heard this before, may remain the same, but something starts to change in us. And a lot of the times when you're
Yes.
going through life and those closed doors happen, you're like, Lord, where are you? Then all of a sudden, hindsight's 2020, and you see, oh no, you were protecting me. Like you weren't rejecting me. You weren't,
Yeah.
denying me an opportunity. You're like setting me up for the next thing that's even better. And so then it's like, man, I spent all this time complaining and being frustrated, and I don't know if you're familiar with Christine King, but she wrote this book, Don't Look Back. And it's been so pivotal and so helpful of just this reminder of she does the parallel with Lot's wife that we read about in the Old Testament
Yeah.
about how, they're going in and God is rescuing them from Sodom and Gomorrah. And literally the angel that is with Lot and his wife, it's like, okay, don't look back. We're moving forward essentially. And she looks back 'cause she doesn't want to let go of what was, even though it wasn't good. And as soon as she looks back, she turns into a pillar of salt. And she did this whole message throughout like 2020 when COVID was taking place of just this analogy of we're wanting to have things go back to normal, but God's trying to shift and do something new. And sometimes we hold on to
Right.
things for so long that the
Because
Lord's
we want to be
saying,
comfortable, or
yes.
yeah.
And it's like, it's time to move. I'm doing a new thing. Like, don't you
Yeah.
perceive it? Don't you see it? And so I think even in my own life, just that same, like, as we're talking about, waiting on the Lord and hearing from him and using things like ChatGPT or Google, like all of
Mhm.
it is fine as long as, there's like a healthy relationship with it of like,
Of
okay,
course.
but also incorporate, listening to the Lord, hearing from him, being patient, and yeah, keeping your eyes forward. I think someone's talked about it before of like the front mirror of your car is much bigger than your rear view mirror for a reason,
Yes,
you know,
for a
like
reason. Yep.
he's taking us somewhere, and so we have to see that. So I think it's
Yeah.
good. And it's funny because I think it's so pivotal, the fact that even you talked about this of now that you've gotten into the word, now you have a better understanding of his voice. So I think that also helps when it comes to like being creative and coming up with ideas because it's like,
For sure.
I
Yeah.
recognize this. This
Things
is
will just pop into
familiar.
my head and I'm like, okay, good idea. Thanks. Like, write it down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. There was like, even this morning, I literally have it right here because I did a video this morning where I was like, I had sat down to do I'm doing like a Christmas series right now. So I had sat down to do day 2, which I haven't even filmed yet, by the way. I'm going to have to film that. It's going to be going up late today. But
That's
I
fine.
sat down and I was like, I like, want to talk about just how important it is to like read the Bible. Like it was like
Yeah.
so strange. I mean, it was something that I had read in Luke, but I had started and then like my notes got like so
I love
like
it.
just scribbly at the end that I even showed the camera. I'm like, this is how I know. Like this isn't me. Like this,
Yeah.
I can't keep up. Like this is the Holy Spirit
My
talking to
hand
me.
can't move that fast. Yeah.
Like I can't move that fast. And I think like too, like just going back to what we had just touched on too, there was one of my favorite analogies, picturing like a child trying to touch a hot stove, right?
Mm,
Children always want to do the most dangerous things. They want to stick
yeah.
their hand in the outlets. Like they want to like play with
Yeah.
the things that for whatever reason they want it so bad. And as parents and as adults or, you know, teenagers, we know because we're grown that that is dangerous, that you
Mm,
can't run into the street, you can't touch the hot stove, and they cry and whine and they complain because we take it away, right? We're like,
wow.
okay, like you're not gonna get this, you can't play outside anymore because you're running the street or whatever it is. And all because like God was protecting you from not being burned, right? Like if
Mm,
you are a child and you're playing around the stove and you touch the hot stove, it's going to hurt so much
yeah.
worse than your parent pulling you away from it in the moment,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
And
so
they're
good.
going to forget about it in like 3 seconds after
Yeah.
but a burned hand could last, you could have scars your whole life. So
Mm,
it's that like when and I
yeah.
know that that's a very like not silly but just a very minuscule analogy compared to what you might
Yeah.
be facing right now, but remembering like the most that I can relate it to is like having a boy break up with you or
Yeah.
something just not go your way, you didn't get the job that you wanted or whatever it is,
Yeah.
like just picture like the stove and being like
So good.
there is a reason, rejection is redirection, right?
Yeah.
There is a reason why this did not work out. And because I've struggled and I still struggle so much with my anxiety and panic. So like anyone that's listening that may feel like they're in that boat too, something that's
Mm,
really helped me is praying, let your will be done, right?
mm,
Break my plans. Like replace my broken pieces like with your plans. That is what I want. And surrendering, it's very hard to do and it's a very scary prayer to pray. But you almost feel this sense of relief where you're like, why am I like what am I even anxious about? Like why am I letting this fear and this anxiety and this emotion take over my life
yeah.
and literally like ruin my days, day after day and run them? Um God's plan's going to work out no matter what. Like it's almost
So
like,
good.
like you have to kind of surrender that. So
Yeah.
praying that prayer sometimes helps because I'm like, okay, I'm, going into something really scary right now, or like, I'm
Yeah.
not feeling great about this interview or this day or whatever it is that's going on. And knowing like, well, at the end, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
easier said than done. But the more you build that relationship with God, the more that you really start to trust him.
Yeah. And I think like the easier it's like a reflex muscle of just like
Yeah.
when the worry comes, okay, no, I'm praying and I'm giving this to the Lord because this is from the enemy. And I want to even always say it's always the enemy. Sometimes it's just like that's our logical minds going. Like, if I don't get
Yeah.
this, what's going to happen? And what about finances and whatever, fill in the blank. And it's just the challenges create an opportunity for us to learn how to trust God even more and really for Him to show off who He is to us. And
Yeah.
it stretches our faith and it grows us to see, man, he's faithful. If he was faithful then, he's going to
Yes.
be faithful again. He's not
Yes.
he's not a God to lead me into a scary place and just leave me there abandoned and alone, but he has a future. He has a hope. Like he's going to walk with us. Like
Yeah.
even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, like I will not fear because you're with me. Like you are
Correct.
with
Correct.
me. And so It's good.
And you've already been there. One of my favorite worship songs is Trusting You by Lauren Daigle. I'm sure like so many people know it. It's a popular one, but if you haven't listened to it, please do. It's so good.
Yeah.
And one of the lines says, and it gets me, oh my gosh, it gets me every time. It says, "There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood."
Wow.
Has been there. He
So
has
good.
conquered it all. He's
Yeah.
conquered it all. Like, there is not one thing you could put in God's hands that he cannot conquer.
That's
It
so
is
good.
so refreshing, like, to know that, because it's very easy to feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders when you're like taking a hard test, or you're
Yeah.
going through a breakup, or
Right.
you're just feeling like you're feeling all the feels. Or girlies, like, it
We
happens.
have a lot of feelings. We really do.
And it feels like your world is crumbling down. I tell myself this all the time when I'm trying to get through a workout. Like, I will literally be like trying to hold a plank, thinking my world is ending, and
This
I'm like,
is it. Yeah.
I'm suffering, and I have to remind myself, I'm like, Jesus literally came and conquered
Wow.
death. He came and he's done it all.
You can do a plank. You can do a
He
plank.
died on the cross for you. Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you can do this. It leads me back to just being uncomfortable. Like, put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Going back to that day that I saw that video and decided randomly like that I was going to start posting about Jesus, my immediate thought was, no, I don't want to do that. I feel uncomfortable. And
Wow.
boom, for the first time ever, I felt like a punch back that was like, no, get uncomfortable. Good. Like,
Wow.
this should make you uncomfortable. This should challenge you. This should teach you new things. Do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I encourage you to take those leaps, because if it's on your heart, like, God put it there for a reason.
So good.
And maybe it's not, you know, I always felt that fitness was on my heart for a reason, and that was what I was always meant to do. And it turns out it wasn't, but guess what? Like, it prepared me for this season that I'm in now. So even if it's not your end all be all, like, there will be a reason, and
So
you'll get to
good.
look back one day and be like, that's why I had to do that. That's why I
Right.
had to go through that, you know?
Right. No, it's so good. It's so funny because I have literally all these questions that I planned for this podcast, and I literally haven't looked at them once. And every time I'm thinking like, oh, I should look at it, but and then it's like, oh, just another thing goes and sparks. And I think that just hits at the point of it's so fun when you're walking with the Lord because he just aligns you with people. And I feel that even just talking with you, Dana, of just that similar passion, that similar desire. But it's also, you just start to, you attract the people, you know, in your life when you're living your life in such a way. And you're gonna, I think sometimes for me, like we've kind of hinted at this of like, maybe people are going to judge me. They're going to look at me differently. Maybe I'm not going to have any friends. Like it's going to be really lonely. And I just think it's been the kindness and goodness of the Lord that he's always sent people my way where I wouldn't have even known. Like here I am on social media, wouldn't have even known. But it's like,
Right.
the Lord is good and he will bring those same friendships, those relationships into your life that are going to echo that. They're going to encourage that. And I think if we could like start, you know, wrapping up this podcast episode, I think I'd want to touch on that too. Is just surrounding yourself with people that can also like point you back. Like you had key people in your life, you know, that were influential to you, people that you aspired to be because of their walk with the Lord. And I would just like to hear from you. Like, how do you continuously surround yourself? Like, if you're going to encourage younger girls on here that are like, man, I want to get uncomfortable. I want to step out in this way. I want to get in my Bible more. But we also need community. It's a command from the Lord. How have you created that space in your life, sought that out, made that a priority when it comes to pursuing a relationship with the Lord?
So the one thing that first comes to mind is, because I think that this might be helpful too, whether it's people, friends, relationships, or even like things, like just like material things that we desire in the world, always check its fruit. And this is something that I learned, like, this is something that's new to me. There are 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit. And I'm going to test myself right now. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, goodness.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
One more, in self-control.
Faithfulness.
Faithfulness.
Yes.
Duh.
But you were like really good.
Thank you for that. Well, I quiz my fiance on it almost every morning. I'm like, what are the fruits? We're getting to heaven together. Like, what are the fruits? So going back to that, right? So love, joy, patience, peace, all of those things, kindness, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. If you feel like a person or relationship or a job or something that you want, if it makes you feel those things, it's from the Lord, right?
Wow.
But if it's the opposite, if it makes you feel anxious, if it makes you feel sad, depressed, angry, jealous, lustful, those are not from the Lord. And
Wow.
my goodness, you guys, like seriously, if I had learned that 10 years ago, I think that it could have saved me so much. Maybe not, because I'm still a stubborn gal,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I genuinely, I mean, relationships I got into because of lust, jobs I chased just because of money, like that's
Yeah.
greed. Again, going back to like just trying to put on my best outfit and look
Yeah.
hot, that jealousy,
Yeah.
those things they're not from the Lord. A relationship with a friend, like you said, surrounding yourself with people, they should make you feel
Yeah.
at peace. They should be patient with you. They should love you. They should be kind to you, right? And you back. And of course, it's,
Right.
things get hard and fights happen and life happens. But at the end of the day, like you'll feel it in your heart if you feel like this is someone that the Lord has sent you,
Yeah.
because you'll feel those things and you'll feel,
Right.
so I think that learning the fruits, I mean, has been able to help. Really, I get
It's really
the
good.
question too a lot where it's like, how do you know if this is from God, and how do you know if God's speaking to you? Well, check its fruit. Like,
Yeah.
that's
It's so
that's
good.
like,
It's like a
yeah.
little
So
checklist, like,
it is. And yeah,
and that's good.
and it's another thing that can get tricky is sometimes it makes you feel a little bit of both. Sometimes it's love and
Yeah.
lust, or,
Yeah.
yeah, they are patient with me, but sometimes I get anxious. And so that's when you just really got to turn to your prayer and be confident in your relationship and your trust in the
Yeah.
Lord to help guide you through. Just to, mention it, it is normal to feel both, right? In
Yeah.
in one, but
Right.
um we'll get through it.
Yeah, and I think that's also where it's, like, good of, like, having mentorship and, those community of people that, like, know you and are invested in pointing you back to the Lord and deepening that. So they're
Mhm.
gonna, like, actually listening to those voices too of, like, they're seeing something, let me listen into that of what they're seeing. Because I remember
Yes.
sitting down with a girl and she was having this difficult relationship, and the idea was, we asked the question, my friend and I, to her of like, does this relationship bring you closer to the Lord or further from the Lord? And she was like, well, closer. But then we asked a question on top of that of like, are you going to the Lord more because there's so much hurt and frustration and confusion, so you're praying to God a lot, like
Uh,
you're there all the time? Or is it, no, I'm personally deepening in my relationship. I feel so encouraged. I want to know Jesus more. And all of a sudden it was a switch. And so,
Good. Yeah.
yeah, it's like good to unpack those things because you don't always recognize that. 'Cause it's like, man, yeah, I'm the closest. I talk to the Lord all the time, but it's like, but why are you talking to him?
Yes, that is
And
a
it's not that
great
you
point.
can't have both, but if majority of the
Correct.
time you're functioning in the anxiousness, like here's another random example too, just to provide more clarity, because I love that example. I've never heard of that. Not that I've never heard of the fruits of the spirit, but using that like as a checklist, like looking at it that way,
Yeah.
I think is so good. I was in a long-term relationship and he loves the Lord, I love the Lord. He's pursuing ministry, I'm pursuing ministry. Like on paper, everything was great. And so I was like, good, we're good to go. And then in
Yeah.
the relationship, I developed so much anxiety for a myriad of different reasons, but the reality was the relationship should have ended probably in like 3 months, not lasted 2 years, and it's not because this person was bad or I was bad, we just were not matching together. We were like
Mhm.
the it was not fitting, we were not working, but
Right.
just trying to make things work. And so sometimes it's we think, well, we're both Christians, we both love Jesus, so I'm just going
Right.
to fight to make this work. And I
Yes.
think definitely growing up in the church, like I just had this idea of like I never really dated until I went to college. So I was like, my first boyfriend's going to be like my husband, is going to be
Yeah.
the one. And
Yeah.
so I think there's just these unrealistic expectations that we can place on people or situations, or you just have this fairy tale. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, it could happen, it just
Right.
wasn't happening for me, and I wanted it to be that way. And I was like, but why, like why does it have to look like
Yeah.
that? And so it's just sometimes you hold on to things so much longer because you think, well, this should work, and then it just
Right.
doesn't. And it's just trusting, that there's something
Yeah.
that the Lord wanted to do through that.
For sure. It's like when you think you have like the puzzle piece that's gonna fit, and then it's like so close, like you're like,
You're
I
forcing it in. You're
swear
like,
this is
it
yeah,
could
and you're like,
it could
this
morph.
has gotta be it. It's just a
Yeah.
manufacturer error. Like I know it
Yeah.
goes here.
Yeah.
And it's so close, but it just isn't, and you
Yeah.
have to like accept that. And the
Hard.
relationship that I was in before meeting Danny, or not me even meeting, well, I'll get back into that in a second, but getting engaged to Danny was like just something that it's just like I tried so hard. And to your point,
Yeah.
I was praying so much, like make him love, like
Yeah.
I
Let
know
him
I don't
choose
deserve
me.
to be
Yeah.
treated like this, but I want it to be working so
Yeah.
badly. And he was probably like, my girl, like this is just
Yeah.
not, there's a reason why, you
It's
know? And
not. Yeah.
that's where my anxiety peaked. I mean, I was so just sad and anxious during that time that it was like, I mean, truly, like every part of me started being stripped away until I finally, it was like, you
Yeah.
know, it was like finally it had ended. But I had brought up Danny again just because it's important to note this, just because I know there's a lot of young girls listening.
Yeah.
And I used to be really stubborn about just thinking that every guy that I dated was going to be the one. And, you know, we would
Yeah.
find our way back. And it does happen because Danny and I went to our Catholic grade school together, actually,
Okay.
and we rode the bus together. And he was this like, you know, cute older, you know, kid that sat in the back of the bus that I just wanted to, you know, get his attention, right? And so
How funny.
I would sit a couple seats in front of him, and we would like talk and everything. And you know, he was just too old, too good to be, you know, with a sixth grader. He was in eighth grade at the time, and it was, you know, I had this biggest crush on him, and I found, you know, I've written about him in my diary and taken pictures of him with my like flip phone, like creepy,
That's
you know, I was obsessed with him.
like it's
So
normal. It's fine.
exactly. So, you know, 15 years later, guess who comes sliding in the DMs? Right
Wow.
after the boy I was just talking
Yeah.
about, you know, finally he broke up with me, and I was devastated. And 1 week later, here comes Danny, and I'm like,
Wow.
oh, look who came crawling back. And then boom. Like it's like, you
Yeah.
know, it's, and not to say that, you know, it's to say that the people who are meant to be in your life, they will always come back if
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
And also, you know, they'll come in the right time. And I think, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's insane because I feel like that whole relationship, you know, 8 months, I was just fighting for this to work. And it was like, almost like, you know, Danny's just like, I don't know, just dangling above. Like God's ready to just drop in my life when
I
I'm ready to
have
let
this for
go.
you. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
true. And I think like relationships are hard. I mean, and that's what I think is so cool is like full circle back to the beginning of kind of like why you're getting into the word originally. It's like, man, I want to be prepared. Like marriage could be challenging, which it is.
Absolutely.
Marriage is hard, you know, marriage is
Absolutely.
an absolute gift, but it's two people becoming one. You know, it's just a lot
Yeah.
of friction and iron sharpens iron, all the things. So
Yeah.
it's so good, but it's like if you knew something was going to be difficult, why wouldn't you get a game plan before, not just wait until you're in it? Which is
Yes.
why
Yes.
you're like, okay, I want to learn who Jesus is and make that like the middle of our
Mhm.
relationship, the center, which is so good. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, a lot of those times too, it's just like when you recognize that, I think even for me in my relationship before, like it's just a lot of trying and trying and trying and trying to make something work. And it's really just like the quicker we can get to this place of living our life with open hands just to receive and to allow him to take away.
Yes.
Because I was holding on so tight and he's like,
Yes.
I have something I want to give to you, but you have closed hands. And so I can't give it to
Yes.
you. And the only way I can have the opportunity to give it to you is you open your hands, which means there's going to have to be something that
That you let
is let go
go.
of, you know, but it's always so much better. And for me, like it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, a relationship right away. I probably would have liked that. That would have been awesome, you know, but for me, I had to uncover that I had a lot of like codependency issues in my life. I was
Oh, yeah.
so reliant on people and having them like me, specifically the opposite sex, you know,
Yep.
the Lord
Yep.
just that's when he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna move you away to Washington where you don't know anyone. Here comes this Texas girl to Washington." And that's
Yeah.
where I became a pastor, and it's just the Lord was helping me discover my voice, which
So
is so
amazing.
cool. So it's like everyone has such different trajectories, but if we allow the Lord to lead and guide us by having our hands open and surrender,
Absolutely.
the places we'll
Yeah.
go, the things that will take place is just
Yeah.
awesome, which
I
has
love
been
that.
yeah, and so fun to see that in your story as well, just with being obedient to making these TikToks and videos about getting into the word, talking about Jesus and who he is. And
Yeah.
so I absolutely love it. Dana, this was a really good episode. One, I never looked at my questions. It just was flowing. It was just good. I'm like, man, I'm fired up. Let's do it. So
I know.
thank you so much for being on the episode with us today. And I just want to say, girls, if this episode blessed you, please share it with your friends, your girls. Get into small groups, have questions to dive deeper into how can we practically apply what we learned to our lives. So, girls, we love you. Dana, you were such a blessing. And for the rest of y'all, we will see you again in just a couple weeks.